Hey guys, we're into Genesis chapter 42, and if you haven't read 42 yet, please pause the video, go read Genesis 42. I'm not going to be going through the whole passage. I apologize for being late and getting this video out. I just had a lot of time really wrestling with this passage to see, okay, what are the things that God's really trying to teach us with this passage? I really think, where I was wrestling is the narrative unit chapter 42 on through a couple chapters in, or is it its own piece? And I really think that chapter 42 is its own narrative unit and should be taken alone. And then the next narrative unit is going to be longer, 43, 44, and 45. So anyway, I just really was wrestling with it. I think that I've come to what I think are some of the things that God's really trying to teach through this passage. So I'm going to hit those real quick, not make this as long as normal. But okay, so first of all, I really think that he's saying here that God works all things for our good. And the question is, do we believe it? All things work for our good. Now, it's interesting in that Joseph, perhaps he's been wondering, what is God doing through all these hard things that have happened to me? In our last chapter, he is exalted. He gets raised up to this high place. But now Joseph sees his brothers coming in need, and I think the wheels are starting to turn for Joseph, that he is getting to see that this is how God is working all things, even the evil that his brothers did, even all the mistreatment that he's been through, all that he didn't deserve. He is working all things for his good, and he hadn't seen that. I don't think obviously the brothers don't see that. Their dad doesn't see that yet, but he's seeing that. Look at verse 9. It says, Joseph remembered his dream about them. And so he was remembering how he dreamed about this place where he would be exalted and they would be bowing down to him. He's actually seeing God's fulfillment of those things starting to come together. He's seeing how he now gets to bless them and encourage, provide for them. Now, in contrast, we see that Jacob, he can't yet see God's providence. He actually is thinking that everything is against him. Look down at verse 36. He says, their father Jacob said to them, it's me that you make childless. Joseph is gone. Simeon is gone. Now you want to take Benjamin. Everything happens to me. I mean, he is just like thinking that all the circumstances of his life are going against him. And he finds out this deal that his son struck with Joseph, the leader of Egypt, that he will release Simeon if Benjamin comes back. And Jacob's like, no way. I lost Joseph. Now I've lost Simeon because of you guys, what you guys have done. There's no way that I'm going to risk losing Benjamin as well. And everything happens to me. The good in his life is his sons. And of course, his children, that is a good thing. But he doesn't want to lose that. He wants to hold on to that. And I think that when we're talking about God working all things for our good, do you believe it? Jacob is not believing that God's working all things for him. And that's the question for us. Do you believe that all things that God's allowing and bringing into your life, is he working those for good? Will you, like Jacob, hold on with a vice grip to the things that you've said are good? This is what's good in my life, and I need to hold on to that because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. Or will you release that, trust God, and follow him? And it's just really remarkable. It's easy for us from our perspective to look in and judge Jacob. But let's not forget that Jacob has the example of his grandfather Abraham, who also in a famine went down to Egypt, who lied to Pharaoh, yet God protected him. And Pharaoh asked him, because God brought a little mini judgment on Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's like, hey, Abraham, why did you do this to us? And the text, and this is Genesis 12, Abraham doesn't answer. But then later in Abraham's life, Abraham does exactly the same thing with, remember, Abimelech? And Abimelech said, same thing happened, lies about his wife. Abimelech says, why did you do this to me, Abraham? Why'd you lie about that? And Abraham replied to him, he said, because I didn't think there was anybody in this land that feared God. Now contrast all that with this. Same story, famine coming down to the land. Except now you've got the leader of all of Egypt telling you explicitly, I fear God. He's and so they've come back, and the sons have come back and told their father Jacob, hey, this is the deal we struck. And by the way, the leader says he follows God too. He worships and follows God. And so he's got all this past. Now he's got the same assurance that Abraham wished that he had. Now he's got. But then on top of that, God has promised Jacob all this future about the land, all this future about his family. But Jacob says, no, I need to hold on to what's good because I can't stand if I lost it. And I think that is a test that right now in this moment, God is graciously being patient with him, but he's failing that test. What good are you holding on to? Because I don't believe that God will take care of it. I can't trust him with the good that I have for the good that God has for me. So God works all things for our good. Do you believe it? And then the second thing I think we see here is that God gives his justice to lead us to repentance. God gives his justice to lead us to repentance. It's hard to say exactly what are Joseph's motives in this. And my best guess is because I don't think he's just toying with his brothers. I don't think he's messing with them. I don't think this is a form of mild revenge. Based on other things we see, I think his intentions are good. My guess is that Joseph is trying to figure out, all right, I don't know what's been going on with my family for a long time here. I'm seeing these brothers. Last time I saw these brothers, they had, they were in a murder rage. They wanted to murder me. I just escaped by the skin of my, barely made it alive. They sold me into slavery. That's his last experience with them. He sees his 10 brothers. He doesn't see his younger brother Benjamin. He doesn't see his dad. What's going on with them? What is my brother's heart? I think he's testing to see, it's like, where are you at, guys? And then you see in verse 21, it said, then they said to each other, obviously we are being punished for what we did to our brother. They are getting I think, a kind, gentle glimpse from God. Not the judgment that they deserve. They are getting incredible grace from God. They are getting a glimpse at the judgment of God, and they're getting mercy and kindness in order to lead them to repentance. Look at Romans 1:18. It says this, for God's wrath, that's his judgment, is revealed from heaven against all godlessness and unrighteousness of people who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. God lets people get a glimpse of, hey, don't keep going down this path. There is judgment. I am a just God. I'm not going to just let you get away with that ultimately. But he's merciful. The next chapter of Romans, it says, now we know that God's judgment on those who do such things is based on the truth. In other words, it's not vindictive. It's true, God's judgment. Do you think any one of you who judges those who do such things, yet do the same, that you will escape God's judgment? In other words, everybody's guilty. And by your judgment of other people, you prove that you are guilty. And then listen to verse 4. Or do you despise the riches of his kindness, restraint, and patience, not recognizing that God's kindness is intended to lead you to repentance? God's kindness, his restraint, his patience, in other words, not giving us immediately what we deserve, is meant to lead us to repentance. He, like it said in chapter 1 of Romans, he's revealing his wrath so that, and then plus his kindness and mercy and patience, so that we have an opportunity to come to repentance. And I think we're seeing an example of that in the lives of these brothers. Joseph is trying to figure out, where's your heart? And they show multiple times that they have definitely moved to a better place than they were before. recognizing the wrong that they'd done and are acting in a repentant way for what the wrong that they've done. Their dad isn't there yet, and we're going to get more of the interaction between Joseph and his brothers in the longer story for their second trip back. And then, of course, the dramatic revelation of the identity of Joseph for his brothers. So, again, the 2 points. God works all things for our good. Do you believe that? Do you believe that in your circumstance? And the reminder that God reveals his justice to lead us to repentance. God reveals his justice to lead us to repentance. So guys, remember to listen to Jesus, do what he says, and know that you are loved.